Maine's forest looks unbroken. But today, many people own part of the forest. Even small properties of 10 or 20 acres can offer solitude, recreation, enjoyment, and opportunities for forest management that can help bring your dreams to life. Hi everybody, this is Lou McNally, and welcome to Be Woods Wise. This is an introduction to forest management choices produced by the Maine Forest Service. In the next few minutes, we're going to meet people very much like you, Maine people who own land and trees in every part of the state. And with many more people now owning more of the Maine forest, it's more important than ever to be woods wise, with the help of the Maine Forest Service. The Maine Forest Service knows just how important your piece of the forest is to you. After all, these are places that we call home, that we use for solitude or recreation or enjoyment. Perhaps to you it's an investment, something that you can hand down to your children. But no matter what your plans are for the future, the Maine Forest Service can help you make informed choices. We'll meet Harry Weldon and hear his plans for land along the Mattawamkeag River. We'll go up to Blue Hill to see how dreams for a beautiful, productive woodland can come true. And we'll walk George Denny's land down around Freeport to see what might happen when a harvest goes wrong. And all along the way, we're going to learn forest management techniques and practices that you yourself can put into action. We'll talk about pruning and trimming, thinning and clearing. We'll break some trails for walking and hiking, bird watching, and winter recreation. We'll also meet a master logger and some of the men and women of the Maine Forest Service who can help you make the right choices for your land and trees. So, do you want to be woods wise? Let's get started. Well, Dick Morse and Patty Cormier from the Maine Forest Service, let's just say that I've just gained stewardship of this piece of property here, and I want to make sure I do it right. I'm not entirely sure exactly what I want to do, but I know that I've got some options. I'm just not terribly well informed right now. So I gave you a call for the first walk around. What's next?
What you did first was the right thing to do by calling the Maine Forest Service, and then we would suggest that you can call a consulting forester to get advice and work on management. So say I get my consulting forester and my plan, which opens me up to all kinds of opportunities, including more information from you folks. What do you think the consulting forester would say about this particular piece of property? What would stand out?
Well, just what you see here is kind of stands out. The variety of the diversity, the forest, the woodland, the field, the wildlife.
Oh, we got fruit trees over here. We got pines. We got field. We
lots of opportunities to make decisions and have lots of informed decisions.
I don't have to do with the field here, for example.
Well, you've got two choices really. You can either leave it as it is, which is going to be great for wildlife, or you can let the forest come back. If you look around, you'll see trees coming in already.
Starting to pop up.
Right. You need to do something to keep it in field. Otherwise, Mother Nature will make it a forest again.
Yep.
If a main objective is wildlife here, this woodlot is perfect because you've got the field, you've got woods coming up to that field, which provides what we call edge.
Right.
And it provides diversity of different size trees, so then you're going to get more diverse critters.
What kind of critters am I going to get?
You're going to get partridge, you're going to get deer coming out in the field, you're going to get migratory songbirds.
Really?
Wild turkeys.
They're much more common today.
Well, that would be something I'd like to make a choice about. Something else I got to think about too is that being this close to the water here in the coast of Maine, this property it's expensive in taxes. And I have some other options, don't I?
You certainly do. Maine has something called the Tree Growth Tax Law, which is designed to help landowners maintain their land in forest in the face of high taxes. The value of the land under that program is based upon its potential to grow trees as opposed to its potential to be real estate.
On the real estate market.
There's a significant difference. And you have to make a commitment. It's a long-term commitment, but it's something that we can help you with, and consulting foresters can help you with.
It's something we can do all along the way.
Yes.
That sounds great. Thanks a lot for perambulating with me. Hey, excuse me, gentlemen. Tom, how are you? Tom Whitworth and
Dennis Brennan.
Brennan, how are you? You're
Hello.
with the Maine Forest Service. One's from north and one's from south.
That's correct.
You're from south.
That's right.
You're from the north.
Up from the north.
Well, I'm going to take this off for just a minute. I don't think I'll need it right now, but what are the differences between northern and southern Maine?
Well, the state is a big state. There's different soil types and there's different tree species. So that's why you really need to get professional advice to talk about the species you have on your soils, on your land.
Well, okay, so I give you guys a call, and you come out to my lot, and what are you going to tell me about what you see here?
Well, you take a situation like this, you've got a nice pine tree here, and then you've got this low-quality, low-grade hardwood that's overtopping it. This
Right.
tree is not growing as fast as it should.
Okay.
If we can get that hardwood out of there, that pine tree is going to respond, start to grow a lot faster.
I see. Well, what if I was more interested in oak?
You can grow that with pine. They grow together very well.
No kidding.
So you could thin it out so that you've got room for the oak to grow, plus you've got room for the pine.
So when I give the Maine Forest Service a call, and someone comes out to walk my land with me, what's the procedure?
Well, it depends on what we see when we first arrive there. We try to answer the landowner's questions, and whatever we come across, we deal with that situation. And whatever you want to ask us, we'll respond to all your questions. We'll look at all your different timber types, talk about all the different trees you have, and what your options are.
And the landowner would just basically make a list and determine what needs to be done next?
The landowner can take his own notes. They can use a tape recorder to record our thoughts, whatever they want to do.
We're going to get started here on a little bit of a safety segment, and I'm here with Peter Lemon. How are you, Peter?
I know.
Thanks for coming out today. And of course, as a woodlot or a woodland owner, chainsaws are pretty common. We all have them. Would you say that's the most important tool in the bag?
Well, I'd like to consider that the second most important tool.
Yeah?
Your brain is the most important tool.
Well, of course.
and therefore, in talking about safety, I'd like to protect the brain with a hard hat.
Oh, yeah.
And they have some neat hard hat outs now. When you pull the earmuffs down, it really helps with the chainsaw, and it has a shield that pops right out of the way. So there's no reason not to wear this now.
Good idea. I think I'll join you.
Looks good on you.
There,
All right.
okay.
And-
We get started. What do we need for equipment here?
Well, a good pair of gloves. Many sets of gloves today come with Kevlar in the back, and that will prevent the chain from getting down to your skin because the Kevlar snangles up the teeth. The Kevlar is also in your chaps, and these new boots have Kevlar all the way up to the tip of the tongue.
You got protection all the way to the
Right.
toe. All right. It's important to have a sharp saw and know how your saw operates too, right?
Yes, if you don't have a sharp saw, you're going to be pushing it and you'll get frustrated, and that's when the mistakes start. You shouldn't be able to pull that much more than to get one dime between the guide teeth and the bar.
And
If
that's
you-
when you tighten it.
Right, if it's looser than that, it should be tightened.
Well, now, Peter, I feel pretty comfortable with my chainsaw cutting my firewood, but I don't know about heading into my stand to do some clearing. Now, if I get a problem with that and I give you a call, what can you do to help?
The service foresters know who's available to help out do what job you want done. And if you give them a call, they can pretty well customize a contractor to help you out.
You know all the folks, and you can let us know too, right?
Yes, we can.
Here's Harry Weldon. How you doing, Harry? Good to see you. And Tom Whitworth from the Maine Forest Service. The first thing we got to do, you're a new landowner, or got this new lot that you just picked up, and you've contacted the Maine Forest Service. What's the first thing that Harry's got to do?
Well, first thing Harry wants to do is locate his boundary lines, and that's what he's been doing here. We've found some old blaze marks, he's hung some ribbons, we've even found some barbed wire fence. And that's a good historical record, and for Harry, he should make a new blaze so he maintains this old record.
Sounds great.
Yep.
Now, once that's done, that opens up all kinds of possibilities to you in connection with the Forest Service, right?
That's right. Once he has his property marked and he knows what he owns, he can hire a consulting forester that can do a management plan for all the acreage that's on his property.
And that's something you've done already, right?
Right. They contacted one of the half a dozen that Tom gave me, and have hired a consultant forester, and we have a plan in place.
So you've got the plan ready to go?
Right.
Let's go take a look.
Sure.
All right. Well, now that we know exactly where we are, we've found our boundaries, now it's time to do something about our piece of the Maine forest, and that's where you'd come in terms of recommending to the landowner a consulting forester. Carol Rettelsheimer's here to tell us what it is that you do and how you fit in. And most of it's the plan, isn't it?
Well, the plan is a lot of it, and the first step in the plan, Lou, is to talk with the landowner. I sat down with Harry at his kitchen table to discuss what his objectives for the land are and what is it that he really wants to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
The next step is to find out just what is on the property.
Mm-hmm.
So I start by getting aerial photographs and soils maps, and that sort of helps me locate myself. And then we do a systematic walk through the property and actually inventory the trees, the plants, and other special features that we find.
It isn't just a matter of getting your parcel of woodland or even deciding that you're going to manage it. You've got to have the plan to work with.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't work otherwise?
And then you set up your priorities and get done what you want it done in a priority basis. Don't get overbalanced on wildlife or overbalanced on thinning, or you're directed.
Now, Tom, because Harry has gone through you and gotten a consulting forester and made a plan, he's actually eligible for a number of different programs now, right?
That's right. Harry can now do thinning. He can take a stand of trees that are too thick, thin them out, so he gets better timber production. He can do recreation management, put in trails. He can do wildlife habitat improvement to get more wildlife into the area if that's what he wishes.
Mm-hmm.
So he can look at multiple use management. And he can get cost share money, which helps defray the costs.
And
of
which
doing
program
this work.
is that then?
And this would be the Maine Forest Stewardship Program.
All right.
And that's available through the Maine Forest Service. Carol would write a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Once that plan has been done, then Harry can apply for the funds to do the other practices.
Harry, how important is it to have this kind of financial assistance in managing your plan?
That's real important because there's quite a little expense to buying the property.
Mm-hmm.
And quite often, which was my case, I spent as much as I wanted to in buying the property. And so having these programs available is an extreme help.
And how important is that to the forest in general here in the state?
The forest, Harry is actually stewarding his property. And I think that that's very important to the forest in the state because the forest is a dynamic thing, and some people have the impression that benign neglect is the best thing that you can do for the land. But really there's a lot more to it, and it's much more complex than that. And it's really gratifying to see someone like Harry who wants to put that energy and effort into taking care of the forest and providing, it's not just for timber values, it provides all kinds of different values. Wildlife habitat, ecological diversity, recreational opportunities, commercial, the brush making and things like that. It's great.
Sounds like a plan, so to speak.
Take them down, you can't put them back. And with Harry's interest in the wildlife habitat, we thought that leaving the variety of species would increase the habitat value. We have a white pine, we have some hemlock, there's some aspen in the back, which is particularly nice for grouse and also for moose browse. We have some fir.
It's a big help having the program pay for part of this cost, wasn't it?
It sure is. We've thinned about 22 acres, and we've been able to accomplish that because I had the stewardship plan.
So what else have you got up your sleeve here? What else are you doing with your land?
Well, I put up 3 duck boxes, and last spring we had nesting. But a lot closer is the trail that I've been building, and
Well,
it's right down this way, so we can take a look at that.
Sure, all right. Now, you've cut this trail. What was the reason for that?
The reason was for access. I have 2 trails, and it was hard for me to get to this second trail except by building a culvert in the brook. This way I didn't have to build a culvert, and so we just have a short spur connecting the 2.
So this is basically just for access for you.
Right.
There's lots of other reasons to build trails.
That's right. For Harry, he needs access, pick up his firewood.
Mm-hmm.
Good way to get it out. He may want to go for a ride, listen to the birds, look for a deer.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking for wildlife. Wildlife may be using this as a travel corridor. If he has a problem in here that there's a fire, he's got to get in. What better way to use your trails to get to that spot? But the one thing he's got to watch out for are things like this here. You've got a tree that's leaning over the trail. That's a hazard. And Harry, you're going to have to come in, cut that off so that nobody gets hurt.
Good. We'll do that.
Well, it always helps to have your forester and your friend from the Forest Service cruise your land once in a while.
Right, it is, yeah.
Now, you know, thinning, that's work. That's part of the management plan. And cutting trails, that's kind of work too, which will pay off a little bit down the road. But don't you want to have some fun with your land too?
Well, one of the fun things I have is planting trees, oddly enough.
Really?
Yes, I really enjoy planting trees for some reason.
You wouldn't happen to have any nearby, would you?
Yes, I planted some red pine that we can go look at.
Sounds good. Let's take a look. Watch out for the hazard here too. You're going to take care of that next week, right?
That's right.
This is the fun part of it, isn't it now?
Yes, it is, Lou.
How old is this red pine seedling?
I put that in this spring, which was direct from the nursery. And it's grown some this year.
So you're thinking about the future right away.
Right, and children.
And grandchildren.
Grandchildren.
This is going to last a while. That's part of the plan that you put together as a consulting forester, right?
That's right. That's part of the plan that we put together, and that's what we hope that the forest will sustain beyond all of us.
My goodness. Well, you seem to be pretty happy with the results, too.
Real happy.
Thanks for letting us come by today, and thank you very much. Now we're out here in the middle of the woodlot, and we've found something to prune. Peter, you've been doing this for quite a while, haven't you?
Yes. I've been pruning trees since I went to the University of Maine.
Now, let's say, for example, this is my woodlot. I either just got the responsibility to run it or I just bought it. I know I have to prune trees, but I haven't got a clue where to start. First of all, do I have to prune every one?
Well, first of all, I like your attitude that you should prune trees.
Okay.
Because you're going to increase the value of any tree you prune, especially if you can somehow keep it in the family and not let the woodlot have to get sold off, because what you do now, the investment now in minutes, is going to be paid back in years to come.
So where do I start? Which tree do I begin with?
You pick a straight tree.
Yep.
And even if the tree has a bend further up, if you can get at least a 12-foot straight section out of it, that's a prunable section.
I get you.
If you really want to encourage a tree to add clear wood, you can't take off any more than between 1/3 and 1/4 of the live crown on a tree. There.
But if the tree hadn't been pruned, it's not worth as much for lumber or for whatever?
If this branch was still sticking out right here,
Yeah.
standing dead, for example, if that was still sticking out dead,
Yeah.
and a deer didn't come by, or you and I come by and break it off,
Right.
this tree is alive, and it will continue growing out and out and out and out.
Which ruins the grain on the inside.
It will leave a dead knot inside. So when the sawmill gets the board and the tree,
Yeah.
the stem, the log, and saws the boards, there will be this thumb-sized dead knot in every board.
Well, we don't want that.
No, you want clear lumber.
That's why we prune trees.
That's where the money is. This is an example of if we had pruned this tree just about the time the branch had died. All this wood from here on, when sawn into boards, would have been absolutely clear lumber. And these boards in here would have tight red knots in them. Both of them are of much higher value than a board with knot holes in them.
So now there's only this much clear lumber. And if they had trimmed it, they should have done it when the tree was only, what, 4 inches wide?
Well, when the branch died, you can always trim it off because the tree's not using it anymore.
And that'll prevent knots from growing into the wood.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, so we're ready to harvest our land. We know where our trees are. We've done a good job pruning, we hope, all the way along. At that point, we got a couple of options in terms of how we sell our wood, right?
Yes. There was an old-fashioned way of selling it called lump sum. The logger would come in and give you an envelope full of money and then disappear up into your woodlot and cut anything that he knew he had a market for. And sometimes when you walked up into your woodlot, you weren't that happy with what you saw. What's more commonly done now is every tree that comes out is marked.
And who does the marking?
The consulting foresters would do the marking.
Okay, and you know who those folks are?
Yes, we have lists of current active consulting foresters.
And in that case, the trees would then go right off to the sawmill, and you'd be paid based on their grade that they found when they got there, right?
Well, the landowner is paid stumpage, and that's so many dollars per 1,000 board feet based on that mill scale.
Okay.
When you get your check, every time that truck went off the lot, there should be a slip in that check or in the settlement that shows how many logs and the gross scale and the net scale and any defects.
Okay.
And you, as the woodland owner, should be checking to see if there are any defects that the logger made, because those are correctable.
Right.
And that's hurting not only him, it's hurting your pocketbook.
Dennis, good to see you again.
How are you, Lou?
And George Denny, how are you?
Lou, it's great to see you.
Tell me a little bit about your property here in Freeport. It goes back quite a ways, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Actually, it happened when I was 16 years old, and I was living with my grandparents, and my grandmother acquired this property, and it's been in the family ever since. And it's been a real joy, and I have a real passion for taking care of the land. And unfortunately, I made a mistake and hired the wrong logger to cut the property. And it all happened because of receiving a flyer in the mail. I made the mistake of not checking out this particular individual.
And how long did it take for this individual to come in and do what was done?
Well, he worked here about a week, and it looked like a tornado had hit it. It was really a total disaster. It's taken me over 2 years to clean it up.
You've done quite a bit in the way of cleaning it up.
Yes, I have. I've removed some of the old dead wood that was left here.
Let's see if we can take a look at some of the damage.
Okay.
Well, George, looks like you have some obvious damage on the roots right here. This is pretty unacceptable damage for any tree. This is going to affect the growth of the tree and also affect the stability of the tree by cutting the roots.
Well, you can multiply that times probably several hundred trees that are damaged that very similar.
Well, I don't like seeing that. I see some additional damage here, higher on the tree, just about the height of a tire, a skidder tire with chains on it.
Right.
They drove by this and
Gave it a nick.
nicked the tree right up.
Wow.
Oh, that's not a tire up there, though, is it?
No, that's not a tire. Something else happened a little higher up there.
So that's just on one tree.
That's right.
Here I come.
Dennis, what can you tell me about this here?
Well, it's a pretty good sized stump. George, this is a 30-inch stump of a nice white pine. Do you know if that was marked?
No, it was not.
It was not marked. Well, there should have been a lot of good board foot volume in that.
And that's gone.
That's gone.
And it looks like in a couple of these instances, there's been some damage when these trees fell down.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a couple of top trees over here, for example.
Yeah,
I mean,
over-
that shouldn't have been left, should it?
No. A careful logger may have, number one, not hit them, or number two, taken those out so it would look nicer. Further down here, we have a big white pine with some branches and tops lodged in it.
Yeah.
That another tree fell onto it and they're lodged in it.
Now, there was some problems that you had down by the stream, places you told them not to cut?
Absolutely. I told them not to cut any trees around the stream. And like everything else they did here, they went ahead and cut trees down on the stream.
Right. Now, did you have a contract with these fellows?
I did.
Yeah. And was it spelled out that certain trees would be taken and certain ones wouldn't? Or?
It wasn't spelled out exactly, but it was clearly understood. And those trees were not, we were going to mark, and they would only take all those trees that were only marked. These trees were never marked. They just came in and took them.
My goodness.
George, if you had called us, what we can do for you and other landowners, we'd most likely recommend you to consulting foresters who could act as your eyes and ears, help you supervise a harvest, help you plan it. The forester would help you choose a logger. We have certified professional loggers in the state and master loggers. And they take a lot of pride in their work. They're good professional loggers.
That's great. That's good to hear.
Next time around, what do you think?
Well, the next time, for sure, I'm going to contact the Maine Forest Service.
Enjoyed logging, working outdoors.
You know, folks, there is something that Mr. Denny could have done in the first place to protect himself from what happened. He could have called you right away, right, Dennis?
That's right.
And what would have happened then?
Well, we have information for him. We could put him in contact with consulting foresters and master loggers. And another important feature is to have a contract with a logger.
Well, let's talk to our master logger here. Greg Hers, how you doing?
Oh, fine, thanks.
Good
How
to
are
see you today. What's involved in being a master logger?
Well, a master logger is just trying to raise the professionalism of the industry.
So you have to start, I know, by being what's called a CLP,
Right.
Certified Logging Professional.
Right now, there's 48 master logger companies. It's a voluntary program. You have to be a certified logging professional, CLP, first.
Yeah. So as a certified master logger, you're responsible for making sure the harvest gets done safely, environmentally correctly. You're thinking about the future too, right?
Right. But there's other things. There's public access, so landowners' objectives. You got to please a lot of people nowadays.
Yeah.
This job here, for instance, has bike trails and walking paths. People ride their horses through it. So, public access has a lot to do with it. Job's got to look good. We want to keep giving logging a good name, not a bad name.
Right.
So,
Right, there's more to the harvest than just generating income. The future of the forest, there's multiple uses, there's wildlife issues to look forward to, recreation, as Greg has mentioned, and just other values of your woodlot that landowners are concerned with.
All of which the Forest Service can guide us through, right?
We can help you make all your decisions.
Dennis, I think I'm starting to feel a little more woods-wise.
It sounds like it, but there's still more to do.
All right, now what is it that the Forest Service can do for us as landowners here in Maine?
Well, give us a call at the Maine Forest Service. We can talk to you about consulting foresters. We can talk to you about master loggers. We can help you with a timber sale contract. We always recommend you have a written contract when you harvest your wood.
Right.
We have samples of those available.
But Dennis, what if I only have 10 acres?
Well, that's right. 10 acres or 20 acres in Freeport or 100 acres in Bethel, it doesn't matter. It's still an active forest land.
And what if I choose to do nothing with my land?
Well, we can still help you with your own informed decisions, whether it's about wildlife habitat, aesthetics, just beauty on your woodlot, privacy. Just as long as we know your objectives, we can give you some help. Be in touch with the Maine Forest Service. Be more than a landowner, be a forest owner.
And be woods-wise.
Absolutely, be woods-wise.
Well, from Harry Weldon's Boundary Walk to Peter Lemmert's Safety Talk, we've come a long ways towards being more woods-wise. But the first step, in any case, is to call the Maine Forest Service. Whether you own 10 acres or 1,000 acres, you're going to benefit by getting to know your Maine Forest Service forester. You'll need a dedicated professional with a wealth of knowledge, ready to give out advice, tips, and real forest know-how. So give a call. Oh, we may not have answered all of your questions. We've probably raised even more. But any of your concerns about your care of your piece of the forest in Maine can be answered by the foresters, the men and women of the Maine Forest Service. So, thanks for watching, and thanks for becoming more woods-wise with help from the Maine Forest Service.